Hello, welcome to PlayStation Access. My name is Nathan. I'm here with Dave.
Hello.
Dave, we are talking about Darksiders Genesis.
Yes.
This is 5 reasons that it's good as hell.
Yeah, we are, can't lie, we're pretty proud. Pretty proud of that title.
Yeah, exactly. The title itself is good as hell.
Yeah.
And if you don't know anything about Darksiders, it is a 3D adventure series, up until this point anyway, about the horsemen of the apocalypse. I don't want to say 4 or even man, because I'm not sure about one of them and the other one definitely isn't true. And I'm just going to go through these 5 reasons right now. And number 1 is that this game has got Strife in it.
Yeah, it's the first time that we've been able to play as Strife in the series, right?
A new horseman.
Yeah,
exactly.
And Strife is quite a agile character who uses ranged attacks.
Yes.
And is also really cool.
Yeah, I think that I have played Darksiders 1 and 2, haven't got around to trying any of 3 yet, and they are quite like, I'm a serious, like, biblical legend guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's that vibe to them. But Strife is a bit more quippy.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, I just hate saying cool, but it is the word.
Yeah.
He is quippy, and I think the game in general did have a slightly less serious tone, or not as serious.
I mean,
we're
we're getting close to number 2 here, Dave.
Which is?
So, well, I'm going to wrap up number 1 first and just say that they describe Strife as a glass cannon because he's like high DPS but easy to damage. So he's very agile, gets around a lot, does loads of damage to people, but he doesn't last long in a fight if he's taking loads of damage. But you're right, and part of the reason that it's fun is because it's a co-op game.
Yes.
Number 2. And War is the character that we've seen that you can do co-op with.
Yeah.
War from the very first Darksiders game.
We should make it clear it's not solely a co-op game. You can play this by yourself, in which case you will be switching between War and Strife at will. Yeah. But you can also play it cooperatively, in which case you and your friend will pick either War or Strife.
And War is much more of a kind of an up-close, close-quarters, melee type guy.
Yes.
Still being quite gruff and serious.
A big kind of a tanky guy.
Exactly.
And yes, I think what you were trying to say is one of the reasons that it's a little bit more fun or slightly less serious. And just a nice aspect is it's the first time that there are 2 horsemen together and
interacting.
They get to interact. They get to talk about what's going on in the world around them, what they're up to.
Yeah.
And it just makes for it's just a nice way to see these 2 characters.
There's a bit of levity.
Yes,
involved.
definitely.
I think that it doesn't take itself as seriously as the previous games have done. I think that's a good thing.
Me too.
But number 3 still feels like Darksiders, and this is a point that we should make. I mean, you guys have been watching the B-roll, or you've been watching this video with your eyes closed, or not looking at your screen, but you'll be able to tell if you did look at the screen that this game does not look like the other Darksiders games. It's an isometric game made by a smaller team. It's a prequel to the Darksiders series thus far. But despite the fact that there's obvious gameplay differences, it's a Darksiders game in as much as it has the kind of the traversal and the puzzle elements, which made the original, all of them, but stand out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were really keen to stress that I think their whole idea was to make a Darksiders game. It's a part of the series, a Darksiders game, but just using a different take on it. As in, the isometric camera gives you a different take on it instantly. But like you say, it's got all the same elements, and I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. Like it, if someone, if I hadn't seen the other Darksiders games, I wouldn't know that this was the first time they'd done this, because it marries up really well, I think, with an isometric camera, and everything just felt really good.
And I think that the one thing which the studio was talking about was the fact that once people see the isometric look and the genre that this is, it's kind of like, oh, it's a Diablo style game, and they're not like, oh no, don't call us anything like Diablo. It's not that, it's just that it isn't that.
Yeah.
It's like it is environmental puzzles, and it is the same kind of combat that you will see in the original series. And that brings us on to number 4, which is the combat.
Yes.
Which is like Darksiders combat. It looks, but it obviously retooled, same kind of principles involved. This was what really made it stand out for me, is how, not when we were playing, but when the people who were good at the game, who made the game, were playing, they made it look incredibly slick. Like there's lots going on, lots of skills being used at the same time, interplay between either the characters themselves or as was being played by the guy from the studio, switching between characters for different moments. I thought it looked really impressive.
Yeah, me too. And it not kind of, it's not a button bashy kind of game. You're not just hammering away at a button trying to just kill everything in sight. There's definitely a lot of thought that needs to go into the combat, I think, and understanding of the varied and different abilities, like both between War and Strife, but then each of them have a range of abilities that you can equip and upgrade.
Yeah, so like we didn't even mention before, Strife has got, I mean, he's got that range, but he can equip different ammo types on different guns, and then they're obviously like more or less powerful against certain types of enemies, so you're going to be kind of switching them up as you go into different encounters. And also his agility means that there's a whole bunch of the screen gets incredibly dense with enemies and enemy fire and different dangers, and moving through that was when it was getting intense, it was incredibly impressive, like obviously really skill based.
And there was also something I really liked was, and I'm not exactly sure of the name of it, but there's kind of a bar at the bottom of the screen that you fill up with consecutive hits without being hit yourself.
Right.
And once that is filled, it gives you kind of like a buff. Your kind of main attack gets a kind of buff.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's like, it's a particular mode, and it's like your something form. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
But the horsemen have it, and it makes them incredibly powerful.
And obviously, we were watching a developer play who has played quite a lot, so that bar was able to be filled, and it's like a reward for skillful play.
Yeah. Me and you may never see that.
We may never see that, Bill.
And number 5, talking about, I think the combat was best exemplified in the boss battle.
Yes.
Against Mammon, who was like a high demon, I believe. And these are important in the game. Your team is going around, your double act is going around just killing a bunch of high-ranking demons. It's a game where you do that kind of thing. But the setting of the boss battle, what was their internal nickname for the boss?
Their internal nickname for the boss was Schmeagol McDuck.
Because he sits on a pile of gold.
He does.
And also does some swimming through the gold, which is impossible, as we all know. But one of the factors of this battle is you can kind of really concentrate fire on the boss, but if you don't, he will summon in a bunch of things which then summon in extra adds.
Yeah, so artifacts. So I mean, even basically they said there's 2 ways you can go about this boss. You can either just focus on the boss, or he will summon artifacts which you can destroy.
You can manage
and then go back to the boss. And we were watching single player gameplay, so it's a bit different if it's you and a friend. You can split up those tasks.
Sure.
But he was just going after the boss, and I really loved how these artifacts changed up the boss battle.
Yeah,
like the first
accumulating, it was crazy.
In particular, there was a giant mirror that he summoned, which then spawned 2 or 3 copies of him,
clones of the boss,
and you couldn't tell which one was the actual.
And they all had health.
They all had health. You only wanted to damage the boss, the actual one.
Yeah.
And the only way to tell which one that was had one ability that the others didn't have, which
was an orb attack.
Yeah, exactly.
It was crazy.
And that was mad. There was also kind of like a big book that was launching magic spells at you.
I hate it when that happens.
And there was I think it was almost a bit like a wardrobe, a magic wardrobe. Full of skeletons, actually.
Which is funny because your wardrobe is full of skeletons.
No, we're not talking about my wardrobe. But they were saying, like obviously those things are a pain, but also you can use. There was also a giant hammer which was smashing
just
down.
crushing stuff.
But what I really liked was they were saying, those things are a pain, and you might choose to get rid of them, or you might just focus on the boss. But also when you're a good player, you will learn certain things. For example, the wardrobe that spawns skeletons. I mean, I've slightly simplified that. Those skeletons, when you kill them, they release health and other kind of useful orbs. So what they were saying is that pro players might choose to definitely not destroy that artifact, because then they can use the skeletons to farm those things. So you
help them.
I know.
Turn enemies into help.
Into friends, but not really friends.
No, yeah,
just a resource. The point being, like, I don't know about you, I found this boss battle absolutely fascinating and really, really smart. I thought it was really well designed, and it looked really challenging.
It looked out of hand to me.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yes. So look, those are our 5 reasons that Darksiders Genesis looks good as hell.
Yes.
A title we're very pleased with. If you have also enjoyed looking at the gameplay for Darksiders Genesis, perhaps like this video.
I'd like that.
Or comment beneath. And certainly subscribe to PlayStation Access, because we keep making videos and you should watch them.
We do.
For the players.